Hey everyone, welcome back to Mini Bike Mike's CT70 Garage. Today's video, we're back on the Honda C102. Now, it's been better than a month since we've done a video on this video, We've done a video on this bike, and I'll get to that in a minute why it took me so long to get back on it. But if you go back, a month and a half ago, you'll find 3 videos where I picked up this bike. It had a broken kickstart shaft, and someone had partially disassembled the engine to fix it, put the parts in a box, parts got lost, blah, 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 blah. And so when I picked it up, it didn't have a complete original engine, so I decided to go the 110cc semi-automatic Lifan clone-based engine. And in those first 3 videos, I've got it bolted in. I even think we heard it run, if I'm not mistaken. I didn't go back and watch the videos. So we're ready to finish it up with the electrical. Now, when I first got this bike, I saw these lights here and on the rear, and I thought they were turn signals. And in the last video that we did, we realized we came across and found that there was no turn signal switch on the handlebars. There was no there is a horn button and there is a headlight high-low switch, but there is no turn signal switch. So I'm assuming that these are just running lights that come on when you turn the headlight on. The other thing we didn't find, excuse me, the backlight, there is no wiring that comes up into the frame of the bike. So I don't know, I'm going to assume that those lights are tied into the wiring for the tail lights, and they're just going to illuminate when you turn the headlights on. Don't really know. We'll find out. So because I thought they were turn signals, I got a wiring harness from Trail Buddy that included the turn signal wires, the TB422 that you guys have seen me use multiple times. Well, after the realization that those weren't turn signals, I was like, I really don't want to waste a good harness that is designed for turn signals on a bike that doesn't have them. So Trail Buddy has a harness, a TB515, that they sell that is for bikes that only have a headlight, a tail light, maybe a horn, brake lights, those sorts of things. No turn signals. It's actually a harness that I kind of worked with them a few years ago, and they started putting out. Well, they were out of stock on it, and they've been out of stock for a while. But finally have a box with some harnesses in it. They finally got it in stock, and so now we can jump back on this bike and put a harness in it that doesn't require turn signals, or doesn't have the wiring for turn signals. It's, TB515, and they call it their 12-volt simple main harness. And I've got other videos on it, on where I've installed this in a CT70, and I got multiple. That's why the box is so big. While they were in stock, I figured I better go ahead and grab a few of them, so I did. But I don't think I'm going to take the time to actually film putting this harness in this bike. We've spent enough time. I think I'm going to go ahead and do that. There should be videos on this harness. Just go back if you kind of search through my videos, and you'll find wiring harness videos. I think once I've got it in, I'll bring you guys back. We'll put the fairing shield on and do some of the last cosmetic work and get this bike up and running and maybe take it for a ride. All right, so I've got the wiring harness installed in the bike. I haven't done anything up here at the front yet as far as the headlight. I think we're going to start in the back. I did have to make 2 modifications to the wiring harness. Let me get you set up here just for a second. I did have to make 2 modifications. One, I had to lengthen a couple wires on the key switch. The harness is made for a Trail 70, which has the key switch up here closer to the front end. Well, the key switch on this bike is actually on the other side, about right in here someplace on that side case. So I had to cut a couple wires, add in some length to keep the key switch back here to allow the rest of the harness to go up there. That was one modification, and literally it was just snipping 2 wires and adding, 16, 18 inches of length in them to get it back here. The other modification I had to make was the ground wire from the engine and the ground wire in the harness both had female ends, so I had to clip one of those and put a male bullet connector on one of those ends and I did it on the harness so I could leave the engine alone and connect it. That's the only changes I've made to this harness. So I need to put 12-volt lights in the back, well, both ends actually, but we're going to start with the tail light. I use a 2357 12-volt bulb. You can use an 1157. There may be other options. I'm curious to see what kind of bulb is in here, if it's a single element or a dual element, because there was no brake switch on this bike. Well, that was interesting. I was expecting just to take the lens off, and I've taken the whole bulb holder and everything off. That's not what I was expecting to do. It is a dual element bulb. Oh wow, hang on. The seal was all stuck to the Gotta get over here where I can see it. Yeah, that's a Stanley, that's a 6-volt bulb in there. So we're going to put a 12-volt bulb since our engine runs on 12 volts. Okay, so we've got 2 wires that come off the back of this, the bulb. I've got a brown one and a green one. One's going to be tail light, one's going to be brake light, so the ground comes from the frame itself. So we're going to have to push that back up in there. But I'm going to assume that the brown is the tail light or the running light. That's typically what it is on Honda bikes. And the green is going to be the brake light. Usually it's a green with a yellow stripe. This one is a solid green. I've got a 12-volt battery charger hooked up. That's kind of what I use as my power source. Let's test this bulb. Okay, yeah, the brown is the running light and the green is the brake light. I don't know if you guys are seeing that or not. The brown, a much dimmer light, and then the brake light is much brighter. And those, I've jammed all the wiring and everything up inside the frame, the voltage regulator, the coil, the CDI. There's not any really room for a battery, but I'm not going to run a battery anyway. The engine will generate enough electrical power to power the lights. So the only thing that's not plugged into the harness, I have 3 wires here. I have a brown one, which is just going to get hooked directly to the brown. The green that goes back to the tail light actually gets hooked to the green and yellow of the harness for the brake. And then since the light is grounded through the frame, there is no ground wire, so I won't be using that one. So I think we should be good, wired all the way up to the headlight now. So I'm going to shut you guys down, put this tail light back together, and then we'll move up to the headlight. So we're going to move up to the headlight and get the rest of this bike put together. And I'm not going to lie, the hardest part up here might be remembering where all this stuff went since it's been so long since I took this bike apart. we'll see what happens. Let me get you set here a little bit better. I just set the horn up there. That's a similar horn setup as like a silver tag CT70 has. Let's see. These are going to probably be some of the shortest bolts that we have. Let's try some of the. I think the horn needs to go on first. And if this gets boring, just fast forward through and to the point where we get ready to fire the bike up or something. But because I'm just going to go ahead and take my time and chat with you guys. All right, so that's the horn. All right, so the horn has two wires, has a red wire and a light green wire. The red wire is 12 volt positive, hot when the engine's running. The light green is the ground button, and it gets its ground through the horn button itself. So I've got to find, this is the wires that come down. Let me make sure you guys are seeing that. Hang on just a second. I could probably go up just a little bit. All right. So this is a group of wires that are coming down from the handlebar switch over here. There is a light green. So it's just going to plug into the light green of the harness. Now, I'm sorry, of the horn. Now the red needs to get power from the harness, and typically the way they've got this set up, well, hang on a second, I'm going to cut it apart and show you. Hang on just a second. All right. This harness has a little bit different setup. It has a little sub harness thing here that you're supposed to plug into the back of the horn, and it uses spade fittings, which we don't have. So we're actually just kind of get rid of it. All right, what I'm going to do, hang on just a second. I'm going to cut off the black end, and then the rest of that should just slide right off. Okay, so I'm going to get rid of that green there. Now, the black end that we just cut off, I'm actually going to solder on a female fitting so that that horn will plug in. Unfortunately, I don't have one with a black wire, so we're going to use one from something else. I'm going to use these little shrink wrap solder connectors. Pretty handy little deals. Uh-oh, my lighter is about out, guys. Hopefully we have enough here to do this. Shrink wrap. And then there's a little bitty solder connector in there, and we're going to melt that. Good enough. And that will get plugged into our horn. So now the horn has got, when the engine's running, the horn has power coming from the black wire, and then as soon as you hit the horn button, it connects to ground, so it makes the horn go toot toot. Okay, what else do we have here? Let's see. Sorry, I'm just kind of thinking through. There is a bulb up here in the speedometer, if I can get it out, for the high beam indicator. Wow, they got that. That is tough to get. Well, I'm going to have to get a pair of pliers. Hang on just a second. Well, that's no good. I got it out, but that is such a tiny little bulb. Oh boy, focus on it. It's blown. You can tell that it's dark, it's blown. I don't think I have any bulbs that small. Oh boy, it won't focus on it. I guess I got it upside down, don't I? Anyway, you guys probably don't care about that, but I'm gonna look around the shop just for a second, but I don't think so. I think we're just gonna have to put that back up in there and probably leave the, I think it's the same bulb for the illumination light. This brown wire that illuminates the speedometer looks to be the exact same thing. So I got a feeling we're just going to have to let those go for right now and not have lights there until I can find some of those bulbs. But let me look around. Well, I didn't think I'd have any of those bulbs, and I don't. So unfortunately, we're not going to have any illumination in the speedometer right now. I'll go back and try and find those at a later date, but as of right now, I do not have that. What do I need to probably do next? How does this go together? This goes here, and the light just goes into the housing. So, okay, we do have a, if I can get it out, this is the neutral indicator bulb, and I think I do have 12 volt version of that. That should be a 1445. Okay, so we can put that. Let's get all our wires feeding through this headlight bucket here. Let's see if we can't get this piece of plastic remounted to the bike. Okay. It's got these little metal pieces, I think, that fit in here. It's going to need something with a pretty good sized washer. That must be them. They're two different lengths, though. This one. Let's try these two. Sorry. There's one. Well, might put it in there. There we go. I think that's that one. I'm going to guess this longer one goes here. We've got our horn cover. Two little tiny screws. Might need to get a smaller screwdriver. There's one. On the other bikes, this has either an H for Honda or a number. like for how many cc the bike is. I'm surprised this one's just plain. All right, that's that. Now, this neutral indicator. Let's get my wiring harness all gathered out here. There we go. All right, so we've got a green with a red stripe. That's this one. And I'll have to get a screwdriver to punch that in there. And then it needs a 12-volt hot, which is the black. I'm gonna get a little bitty screwdriver to help me push those together. Get in there. All right, there's that one. There's that. All right, the brown of the speedometer illumination would just get hooked to the brown of the harness. Now it's probably not going to work, or we'll blow it right away because I'm sure it's a 6-volt bulb. What else do we have in here? All right, we've got a couple different sets of green and black wires that go to these lights up here, but I'm not using those since they're not turn signals. I looked. They take the same bulb. This 1445 fits in there, but it's a white. I could not find the yellow, the amber colored bulb, which this would need. And I don't want just bright white lights shining. So unfortunately, I'm not going to hook those up. Let's see. So the only wires I really have left are from the headlight switch, which are gotta get my bearings straight here. What wires do I power? It must be. Does that one power the headlight switch? Did I plug the wrong wire in here? No, that's that one. So I'll hook this brown. The yellow is the headlight feed from the engine. Headlight. What this blue tape is that somebody's put on here. Take that off. And on the headlight, oh, we need to change the headlight bulb, don't we? Didn't think about that. All right, I'm gonna shut you off just for a second. I've got to get that bulb out of there, and I got to put a 12-volt bulb in it. All right, so I've got the bulb swapped. There should be 2 blue wires. One that's going to power the high beam of the headlight, and one that is going to power the high beam indicator in the speedometer, which there again we've determined is probably not going to light. Looks like it's blown. And then there is a white wire that plugs into the low beam, powers the low beam of the headlight. I believe that is all we're going to use. The ground for the headlight has got an eyelet, so I need to back out one of those bolts and put that on there. So I'm going to do that. Take that out, fasten this on here, and get it all kind of buttoned up, and then I'll bring you guys back when we're ready to fire it up and make sure that all the lights are going to work. Yeah, somewhat messy, but we're just going to stuff it all in there. If we can. Got to have room in the middle of all this for the bulb to push back up in there. Gotta keep all the wires getting pinched. Oh, still. Everything in? Okay, I think we're pretty much back together except for the fairing. Let's back up and see if the thing will fire up and see if the headlights and tail lights work. Turn the fuel on, give it some choke. Give that a second, let that fill up the carburetor. Guess we gotta turn our key on. Turn the key on. Oh, got some compression. Wow, she got some compression. I'm gonna have to climb up there. Yeah, headlight. Well, you got brake light. We've got a running light, and then when I hit the brake pedal, of course it's not revved up very much, so it doesn't change much. What about our horn? I got a horn. This was the electric start button. There were some wires I hadn't realized were hanging out on this side that I stuffed back up in there. Those were, one was the electric start wire, and the other one was the wires to this. But awesome. Oh, don't die. So we should have engine installed, electrical buttoned up for the most part. Oh, I didn't check the neutral indicator light. I wonder if that actually works. Wow, you catch this thing on the wrong part of the stroke. Yeah, we got a neutral indicator light. So the last thing we need to do is get this thing to fit. And I hate to do it, but I think we're going to have to do a little bit of cutting on that to get that to fit, because I don't think it's going to go around that carburetor on that side, because the original carburetor, you know, tucked up underneath, and now we've got a carburetor kind of hanging off the side over there. Let's see, I think this needs to come off. I think we're good on this side, and it's actually going to work really well. We're going to be able to get into our shutoff valve. We can get into our choke, which is no problem. Yeah, we've got clearance on this side. The issue is going to be right here. We're up against the carb, and I don't think I can, I'm going to have a hard time pushing all that down. I really don't want to put a lot of pressure on that carb, but it looks like this thing mounts in 4 places, well, 1 or 2 on each side. And it just so happens that this Lifan engine has, let me pull this back off of here for a second. See that bolt hole right there? Right here, there's one on the other side, and wouldn't you know it, they line up with these holes here. Now, I went back and hunted through the box of parts that I got with this bike, and I found these, which are, I believe, are what holds this on, but I only have 3. I'm missing 1. I think I have the 2 bottom ones. No, I don't know. Maybe I'm misspeaking there. I'm not sure what I have. I've either got the 2 top ones and 1 bottom, or 2 bottoms and a top. So I'm going to take a second, and I'm going to install these and see where we're at, and then make a decision on what we need to do here. Well, as much as I hate to do it, the only way I'm going to get a filter on this and get this to all mount, get it to push in to where it needs to be, is I'm going to have to come through here and cut this off, and then come around here and basically just make this one big opening. Don't really want to do it, but that's what I got to do to get it to fit. So that's what we're going to do. Well, there it is, all back together. I'm not a huge fan of the red filter, but that's what came with the carb, so that's what we put on there. We may revisit this bike and do some things differently. I got the fairing all mounted, found an extra little rubber bushing. I did have to do some cutting to get everything to fit around there. Didn't like to do it, but it's good and sturdy. It's not going anywhere. You know, it's as tight as it, you know, should be stock. But the bike's all back together. It's got a headlight, it's got tail light, it's got brake light, it's got a neutral indicator light. I did not hook up these running lights. I did not have the bulbs to do the high beam indicator or the illumination for the speedometer. So that's some things that we can come back and do. These rear, I'm still curious about these. You know, I never did find the wiring for those anywhere in there. I thought maybe that might come on when the tail light came on, just as kind of running lights, but it didn't. Of course, I don't even know if there's a bulb in there. I haven't pulled that lens off. This one's missing the lens, has been since I got the bike. But I think we're going to take it for a little bit of a spin. It's a little chilly outside, central Indiana. I think it's in the 30s today. But you know what? We're not going to take it for a ride. We're just going to ride it around the parking lot. Let's see. Gas is on. Key is on. Tires held air. I don't know if you remember back in the first or second video, I aired up the tires because they were flat. Well, the seat is just stiff. Up or down? Must be down. All right, let's all right, I'm going to take it outside, and we'll just take a couple laps around the parking lot. I think she's going to be just fine. I don't know if it'll show up on video or not, but it's actually spitting a little snow here today. Speedometer works. Guys, thanks for joining me on the video. Didn't really turn out the way I had hoped. Hope it had turn signals and all those things, but it doesn't. But you know, we somewhat saved another one. We got a bike that wasn't running and riding, and we put an engine in it and took it for a little spin. Everybody have a great day. We'll see you on the next video. All right, just a little bit of an update. So when I was riding the bike, when I took a couple laps out in the parking lot, I could hear a rubbing sound. I think you guys could probably hear it on the video yourselves. And I assumed it was because I was too heavy for the bike and the back tire was rubbing. And as you can see, I've taken off the turn signal. And those turn signals, or whatever these lights are, has such a long post on them just to go through that little bit of sheet metal, that with my weight, my 230 pounds on it, the tire was rubbing that post. So I took those off, took it for another couple laps, and she is quiet and no rubbing sound, so that makes me feel pretty good. Since I didn't have those lights hooked up anyway, not a big deal. I did find the wiring was just wrapped up inside there. So not sure what they connected to. There was, I'd have to go back and look at the original harness, but you know, I still think they're just running lights. I don't think they're turn signals, but because there's no switch. The other thing that, turn the key on. Boy, this dude's got some compression. Well, there she goes. I didn't think that high beam bulb was any good. Oh, it's not showing up in the video. There you guys can see it. See that light go out? I'm looking at that little light right there. So there's the high beam light. You go low beam. That bulb actually was good. I thought it looked like it was burnt out. We still don't have any illumination. That bulb must be burnt out. But anyway, just thought I'd add that to the video. We're done now. Guys, have a great day. Thanks for following along and watching. Appreciate it. See ya.